Structure is a very simple topic if you don't follow templates and rules. Over the years, many academic tutors and musicians, colleagues, friends have told me how to structure a track, or your track doesn't sound right because it's not got a big enough drop. Stuff like that, and I've always thought, oh, I need to do that, and then I've realised that my style, I've never followed structure. My style is I tell a story with a melodic line and the content of the song, but the structure also plays a very strong part in that storytelling, and that's how I structure my songs. So if the song needs to suddenly change direction, it needs to change direction, and that is kind of how I work in electronic music. It's the same with orchestral music. I do a lot of orchestral composing now. I'm practicing with all sorts of stuff like that, and film scores take twists and turns because the motion picture is doing that exact thing, and the music's just mimicking it to enhance and instill emotion into you. So why isn't it the same for all music? And it is, but because we've been given templates and that is how music should sound in this genre, that's how it should be. That is wrong. So this is kind of how I work. The song in particular today is Bad Culture, and it's just a perception, it's a thought and an opinion, and I'm conveying through this music how I perceive cultures and how they act for good and for bad with each other, and how the subtle differences and the subtle remarks and comments actually have big impacts within communities and cultures. And this is how I go about it. The structure of this is that everything comes in subtly. It seems to be abrupt from how it looks, but it's very subtle. Apart from a few spots, like here, the bass line here comes in 16 bars, and then 16 bars here, and then the bass comes in after 8 bars of that 16, with no indication that it's coming in. It's kind of a slap bang, and that's kind of the way to convey the decisions, kind of the remarks, the blow up from the subtle differences. It's very hard to explain. I'm not very good with words either, so please bear with me. And then it's subtle, and then it's bang slap, no indication apart from a ramp in the frequency, the filter, after a fall, which is kind of a good way to introduce it. That's the main section, and it drops into jumping into the root note of the song, with slight variance in it, which kind of is my way of saying people are in a straight line, they're following the social sheep pattern, and these notes here are kind of the way when people stray out and they try to do something different, and then they pull back into line, sort of thing. And it's just how the social world works. So I want to kind of differ from that and explain that within music. And then it comes in back into the main melody here, but no bass line, which indicates that there's a new section coming. This section here is a rearrangement of the chords here. So if the chords were C, D, E, they'd be now D, E, C. And that's kind of adding my twist onto the track, giving it, there is hope within this whole mess in the culture and the society issues. And then I kind of drop the main melody back into that, and then we get this hint of a new melody. So where I've added one extra note, so if I just do this bit for you here, there's a gap, and each phrase has a gap. So there's a gap there, and then to achieve kind of the climax of the whole track without adding extra instruments into the whole project, I've just added this one note that fills that gap, and you get this effect. So there you go, and that's the only thing that changed in the track. which is layered 3 times, 2 synths here, 2 there, and that's how it goes. So as we can hear from here, there's the whole melody. And then to beef it up, I had the characteristic into the track, the synth that gives the identity to the track, which is this synth here. If we play this back, that's the identity of the track. This is kind of the intro, this is kind of the feel of the track, that's the identity. And then just to fill in those subtle gaps where there's nothing much happening, we have this synth following, but it has a long release time which kind of fills in those gaps, and it's very subtle. And as soon as you chuck this in and put the sidechain on, it starts to fall into the background, and then once you add every element into it, you can hardly tell it's there, and that is kind of the achievement I wanted to create. And then after so long, 16 bars, we drop into this bit where it's the root note and people are straying off but being pulled back. And then we drop back into this. Kind of telling you something's coming because it's got no bass and it's fading out slowly. And then we get this rearrangement of chords which suggests the hope. And as you can tell, there is nothing but a crash cymbal. And at one point I use it as a reverse effect, and then that is it. Nothing else. And then that's kind of the melody reinterpreted for this particular sequence of chords, which is the same as here but rearranged. But then I drop the main melody with a slight variation over the top of it to show that they interlock, and that is kind of my way of saying cultures can interlock and work together, which is this bit here. Interlock with slight change, with slight understandings of each other, we can interlock, and that is kind of what I've conveyed there. And then go back into the main sequence of the track just to kind of give it height and a finale. And then you can hear that one extra note in each bar. Kind of building the anticipation because you're not getting the full effect of the kick, and then the kick fades in, and chuck in the rest of the hats, and there you go. And then this is kind of the cultural aspect again. Things can be so abrupt, there's no kind of build up to it, it just happens, and this is kind of my creation again to say that can happen. Everything just disappears and just leaves you with the bare bones of the track, and then that kind of fades out very slowly, just chucking out minute details like here. It's very, very subtle, and then it fades out and then it just ends with a subtle crash but abruptly. So it's kind of giving you the idea there's no resolution to the problem as such yet. And that is how I've structured the track for that particular story. Other tracks have different structures for different stories, and I might go into that in a later date, but that's just one track. And this particular track, Bad Culture, will be out on an album hopefully early next year, so January, February 2014. So if you want to hear about that and you like this track, there are many more to come on an album, and that will be announced on my Twitter and Facebook page, which are linked below, so please go and have a look. And if you like what you hear, please follow me. Thank you for watching.